Imagine you have $5. When you were a kid, $5 could buy candy, a toy, maybe even a lunch. Now, $5 barely buys you a coffee. The $5 didn't change. What it could buy did. This is why people say, I make more money, but I still feel broke. People hear words like inflation, interest, credit scores, recession, and they think, do I need to care about this? Is this something I need to be concerned about? How does this affect me? But it's not really explained in a way that people can understand. It's just something that people throw around in terms here and there. But those terms are rarely explained in a way that connects to real life or helps you understand what's happening with your money. If you're new here, welcome. I'm in my 40s building financial independence after paying off a lot of debt and finally understanding what works for me. This channel is for late starters who want clarity, steady progress, and a realistic path to financial independence, and who also want help alongside somebody who is actually doing it. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down those everyday money terms and show you how they've been influencing your finances this entire time, whether you realized it or not. Let's start with value. Because value existed long before money ever did. So what makes something valuable? Value is something we place on things all the time. Not just money, everything. Time, safety, even that old photo album collecting dust in your attic. None of those have price tags, but everyone knows when they're valuable. Something becomes valuable when it solves a problem or meets a need. Water isn't very valuable when you're not thirsty. Well, when you've been outside all day in the heat, it suddenly becomes priceless. A coat doesn't matter much in the summer, but in the winter, it can mean the difference between comfort and misery. The object didn't change, the situation did, which is why you see coats on sale at the end of the season. That's how value works. Once you understand how value changes based on context, then the next thing to understand is what happens when that change doesn't stop. When value keeps shifting over time, that's what we call inflation. Inflation is the gradual decrease in how much money you can buy over time. Inflation isn't new, and it isn't automatically bad. In fact, most modern economies expect inflation. For a long time, inflation has averaged right around 2% a year for the US. That means prices slowly increase year over year. At that pace, inflation is usually barely noticeable in daily life. And it's designed that way. That's why a loaf of bread costs way more today than it did, say, in 1950. You don't feel it week to week. You don't feel it month to month. It shows up quietly over long periods of time. A small amount of inflation is intentional. It encourages spending and investing instead of hoarding money. It allows wages and businesses to grow gradually. It helps economies adjust over time instead of staying frozen. At low levels, inflation acts more like a background movement than a problem. Problems start when inflation rises faster than incomes. If prices increase at 2%, but your pay stays the same, your money slowly loses buying power. When inflation accelerates and prices rise faster than the wages can adjust, the loss of purchasing power becomes way more noticeable. That's usually when people start paying attention. For years, inflation was happening quietly. You were paying it without even thinking about it. Only recently has it become obvious, not because inflation suddenly appeared, but because it started moving faster than money could keep up. When inflation reduces what money can buy, people start to look for ways to bridge the gap. Sometimes that means borrowing. And when borrowing enters the picture, interest comes with it. Interest is the cost of borrowing something over time. If you use someone else's money, you give them extra back later. If someone uses your money, they give you extra back later. That extra amount is called interest. Let's say you borrow $10. You get to use it now. Later, you give back $12. The extra $2 is interest. You're paying extra because you used borrowed money you didn't have. Now let's flip this around. You let someone else use your $10. Later, they give you back $12. That extra $2 is still interest, but this time, you're the one receiving it. Interest exists because time matters. You ever heard that saying, time is money? Interest is how people agree to make that trade fair. Some everyday examples of borrowing money are your credit cards, your car loans, mortgages. In these instances, you're paying the interest. But when you lend somebody else your money, like your savings account, bonds, and some investments, you're earning the interest. Same idea, different direction. Interest helps when you're receiving it. Interest hurts when you pay for it for a long time and the extra keeps adding up. Interest isn't good or bad. It just depends on what side of the trade that you're on. Once people start borrowing and lending money, someone has to decide who's trustworthy. That's where credit scores come in. A credit score is a number that shows how reliably you've paid back borrowed money over time. When you borrow money, the system keeps notes. It remembers things like, did you pay it back? Did you pay it back on time? Did you borrow a little or a lot? Those notes turn into a number. That number is your credit score. The score helps decide if you can borrow money again. How much can you borrow? How expensive that borrowing will be. A higher number means you've been reliable before, which means you're more trustworthy. A lower number means the system seems more risk and you're probably less trustworthy in their eyes. Imagine lending your bike. If someone borrows it and returns it on time, you're more than likely to lend it out again. But if they return it late or it comes back damaged, you're probably going to hesitate to give them the bike again. A credit score works the same way, just with money. So why does it matter if you have a good credit score? Credit scores impact how easy borrowing is and how much extra you pay in interest, like getting approved or declined, and how much your interest rate is. The same loan for two different people can cost the borrower very different amounts. A credit score doesn't necessarily judge you. It remembers borrowing history. All this tracking, borrowing, interest, credit scores, that all just doesn't happen on its own. It's managed. That's where banks come in. Banks are businesses that store money, move money, and lend money. Banks sit in the middle of most money activity. They hold your money, move it when you pay or get paid, lend it to others, charge for borrowing. Most money doesn't move directly from one person to another. It moves through banks. When you put money in a bank, it doesn't just sit there. The bank uses some of that money too, to make loans, earn interest, manage cash flow. That's how banks make money. They pay you a small amount for letting them use your money, and then they charge others more for borrowing it. The difference is their profit. Imagine a large shared piggy bank. Lots of people put money in. Some people take money out. The bank keeps track of who puts money in, who borrowed money, who owes what, and it charges for managing all of that. Banks decide how easy it is to borrow, how expensive borrowing is, where money can move quickly and where it can't. That's why interest rates change and why access to money isn't the same for everyone. Banks are not personal advisors, guardians of fairness, guarantees of safety beyond certain limits. They are businesses that operate within rules and respond to risk. Banks don't create value. They manage how money moves between people, time, and risk. Up until this point, we've been looking at how money moves through the system. Investing is about where you stand in that system. Investing is using what you have now to own something that can grow in value over time. So far, we've talked about money moving. You earn it, you spend it, you borrow it, you save it. Investing is different. Instead of only moving money, you use your money to own something. When you invest, you're not just setting money aside. You're buying a small piece of a business, a building, or a group of assets. Those things produce value over time. As they grow, your ownership grows with them. Imagine a small lemonade stand. If you just buy lemonade, the money is gone once you drink it. But if you help buy the stand, you now own part of it. Every time it sells lemonade, you benefit. That's investing. So how does this show up in real life? Stocks are owning pieces of companies. Funds are owning small pieces of many companies. And real estate is owning property that can earn money or grow in value. Different forms, same idea, ownership. Investing exists because value grows over time. Businesses expand, people innovate, property gets used. Investing is how people participate in that growth instead of only working for money. Investing is not guaranteed. Ownership can go up or down. But over long periods of time, owning productive things has been one of the main ways people keep pace with inflation and grow wealth. Borrowing uses future money. Saving pauses money. And investing puts money to work. Sometimes, even investing doesn't prevent setbacks. Because when value shifts over entire economies, everything slows down. That's when recessions happen. A recession is a period when money slows down across the economy. Most of the time, money moves steadily. People spend, Businesses sell, companies hire. A recession starts when something makes money more expensive, harder to access, or more uncertain. When that happens, people and businesses adjust their behavior. Not all at once, but enough to slow the system. Recessions often begin when one or more of these things occur. Borrowing becomes more expensive, prices rise faster than incomes, businesses stop expanding, or confidence in future earnings drops. When future income feels less certain, people and businesses become more careful with money. When borrowing suddenly costs more, loan payments go up, credit becomes harder to get. Businesses that were planning to expand pause those plans. They delay hiring. They delay buying equipment. People notice fewer job postings. They delay large purchases. Stores sell less. Manufacturers produce less. Suppliers receive fewer orders. Nothing broke in a single moment. Money just started moving more slowly from one decision to the next. And that chain reaction is a recession. In real life, this looks like layoffs as companies reduce costs, hiring freezes, reduced consumer spending, tighter lending standards. The slowdown spreads. A recession doesn't require panic. It doesn't require everyone to be afraid. It only requires enough people and businesses to pause or pull back at the same time. Value still exists, inflation still matters, interest still applies, and banks still operate. Investing still continues. But decisions are made more cautiously, and money changes hands less frequently. A recession isn't a standalone event that just happens out of the blue. It's the same system reacting to changes in value, borrowing, and spending. Value sets what things are worth. Inflation changes that over time. Interest adds a cost to waiting or borrowing. Credit scores track how borrowing plays out. Banks move money through the system. Investing changes whether you're just moving money or owning it. And recessions are what it looks like when all of that slows down at once. None of these pieces exist on their own. Each one affects the next, whether you're paying attention or not. Financial success doesn't come from memorizing definitions. It comes from understanding how money actually moves through time, decisions, and ownership. Once you understand that system, money becomes something you can navigate and not just guess at. If you found value in this video, please consider subscribing, as that really does help the channel grow. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.